you're rolling. The
You should
Zoom.
sing the same song anyway, just for
I
fun.
don't need to sing the theme song for fun. I like literally played the theme song 8 years ago, and it was fun then. And maybe one day I'll make a new version of it.
Uh-huh.
But welcome to the Don't Worry About the Government pre-show here for the Don't Worry About the Government Patreons. Thank you for supporting the show here. This is like a different sort of episode that has come together here. I've got like the great anonymous panel. I've got Nick and Dean, who the stories of their origins on this show will probably be told somewhere down the line, but not today. So they will mostly be remaining anonymous. Although I noticed that Dean is also a cat enthusiast. Dean.
Yeah, so I have my cat tree so my cat can hang out while I work at my
Yeah.
desk.
Oh no, I feel you. I have actually right over there is my cat tree, and I have many cats. What's the name of your cat?
Inara.
Inara. All right, tell me about the name.
Oh, it was a character from the show Firefly, which
Okay.
I really liked when I was in college. I've kind of like soured on it since then, but I still love my cat. So
Yeah.
How do you sour on Firefly? How do you sour on Firefly? It's a great
well,
show.
I don't like dislike it. I just don't think it's as good as I did when I was younger. But I'm not a hater, I wouldn't say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
I just started rewatching, guys, The X-Files.
Hell
And
yeah.
I know. It's like one of those shows where it's like, oh yeah, The X-Files. And I realized I hadn't watched it in, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 7 or 8 years. It's been a really long time since I last watched The X-Files. Like, it was still on Netflix. So that was like, what, 3, 4 years ago at least?
I think so, because they had it on right before they did the revival, I think.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I don't know. I don't know how deep this rewatch of the X-Files is gonna go, but like I'm working from home now, so I'm always just like looking for stuff to keep on the TV while I'm working. And yeah, dude, I rediscovered the X-Files, and I'm like, this show's sneaky good.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
is Home, the episode Home on Netflix? It is?
No, it's not on Netflix anymore. It's not on Netflix anymore.
No, but I mean, because I remember that was like they tried to purge that episode.
Why? Because of the incest?
Yeah, which is like, to me, why I watch any show.
Right. Yeah. No, that's
that's
a good point. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's some of the stuff I enjoy the most. Have you guys watched The Mist?
No.
I will tell you, one of the best parts about The Mist, the Netflix series, is the incest angle.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
It's rewarding.
Is it like kind of an Oedipus kind of story, or?
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to spoil the story. In case you want to go and watch The Mist for yourself and enjoy it. As a first season to a series that does not appear to be going any further.
Okay.
But this incest angle, guys, it's quality stuff.
Is it related at all to the Stephen King short story?
Yeah. No. So if you've seen the movie, I like the movie a lot. This is like they wanted to make a whole series out of this thing. Kind of at the end of this first season here, you see a train brought into town by the government that's dumping prisoners off into the mist and feeding the mist monster, whatever it is. So like clearly the plan was to keep going with this series, but they made it in 2017 and haven't made a season since. So weird. I don't know that they're going to.
That's rough.
Sounds a little Holocausty.
But
trains dumping off a lot of people for their slaughter.
Prisoners, no less. Like, they're in orange jumpers. Like, that is some of the closing images of the entire series, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's weird. All right. So yeah, we got a fun show here today. I've actually got like another one written up that I will be taping manana. Let me just show all the people here real quickly what we're gonna be looking at today. Oh god, they're giving me advanced options because there's a group in here. One participant can share at a time. I want to share a screen. Cool. And then we want to do this.
Ooh.
Neat.
Wow.
Wait, that's my phone. We don't need to see my phone. What we need to see is oh wow, Chris, neat phone messages. We need to see notes. notes here.
There we
Boom. There.
Okay.
So we're gonna be talking. This is a very Trump-centric episode. Obviously, we have, and this is why I'm writing and doing 2 different episodes. We've got stuff going on with Trump, which is going to largely be the focus here today, and then we've got stuff with the incoming administration, which will be the episode after this one here. We're gonna talk about Mike Flynn. We're gonna be talking about this spate of preemptive pardons that Trump is talking about doing for his entire family, including himself. We're going to talk about Ivanka getting deposed here for an investigation into the inaugural fund from 2016. Trump delivering what he dubbed, I'm not joking here, the most important speech of his presidency today. And then we'll be going onwards and outwards and going wherever the group wants to go, too. Because this is now a group show. I'm excited. We haven't done a group panel show in a hot minute. But that's what I got on the docket here. So, with that, let me do the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, hello again, and welcome back to Don't Worry About the Government. My name is Chris Novembrino. Joining me on today is the all-star, mostly anonymous-ish panel of Joey Insider. Say what's up, Joey Insider.
What's up, Joey Insider?
There you go. Nicely done, Joey Insider. And the combination of Nick and his well-known tag team partner, Dean. What is up, Nick?
I still gotta say it, MAGA 2020. We're still holding out, baby. It's gonna happen.
Dude, here's the thing. It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
It's never over.
No, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And Dean, what's going on, guys?
Not much. I'm just hanging out, not worrying about the government.
No. It's a weirdly named show, right? Like, it's named after a Talking Heads song, and I didn't name the show. I like the Talking Heads, though. But I've always thought, like, why, Joe? Why don't worry about the government when, like, clearly the government is a source of stress and has borne out to be largely a source of stress since the inception of this show. So on today's show, we're talking about Trump. Next episode, we're talking about Biden. But right now, we're kind of betwixt and between, and Trump ain't letting this puppy go.
Right.
Nick, Dean, let me get a sense. I'll start with Dean here. Give me a little bit of a sense of your worldview on politics. Tell the listeners kind of like, how would you describe yourself? You don't have to use terms, but kind of just give us a sense of your politics.
Sure. So yeah, I was like a Bernie guy, right? I consider myself like a populist, like a left populist.
Okay. Easy enough. Nick, yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Still with her. That's all I'm gonna say. Still with her.
Look, I'm holding out hope. She's not too old. Biden shows us that if he can do it, why not her?
It was a screenshot of a article, so I'm immediately accepting it as fact that Hillary Clinton might have ballooned up to 237 pounds and cannot walk under her own power.
237 is the same alleged weight of Donald Trump in his physical
really?
from a couple of years ago. Yeah, when he was claiming that he wasn't morbidly obese.
239.
Was it 239? Yeah, no,
I don't know.
it was like right there though. Yeah.
Can you imagine them as the two like humongous people on the motorcycles? You know what I'm talking about, in the overalls, just riding. Talk about a unity ticket. Massive Trump, massive Hillary, riding.
The Saturday Night Live sketch.
He's dropped Pence already from the letterhead. Like
when
they're sending out the mailers and stuff. So I mean, it seems like the wrong way is being cleared for a certain Hillary Rodham Clinton to come in. Trump Clinton 2024. Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question in real, I'll give you an example. When I was in Burma, there was a man who was a jewel thief, and he was maybe burning down the. I forget.
Was
the
this
quote.
man you? Is this your way of confessing?
No, I forget the quote. What's the quote from Batman where he said there's a man in Burma and he likes to see the world burn? I was desperately searching
when I
for
was
it,
in
man.
Burma, I was just like, I don't know. This smells like shit.
It works really well when you don't remember the quote you're trying to.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh man, no, yeah, I think I am definitely. But before a few I guess months ago, I would definitely identify as a leftist. But now I'm not sure what that term means anymore. Was a Bernie guy for sure. Have definitely pained me to see him just kind of roll over. Not that we didn't think he was going to do it, but just watching him capitulate like that has been tough. So yeah, but I think black pilled is the way. The show is actually extremely fitting for me because I'm trying to not worry about it because I just feel like it's a machine with too much momentum to be stopped. You know what I mean?
Leftists don't get black pilled; they get grill pilled. They go out and just grill stuff. That's what they're supposed to do. You grill stuff. Just focus on grilling, man. Focus on grilling.
Yeah. Not a good
Get
cook.
the perfect char on that steak.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
But I think just like to your point, that like, yeah, it was never a question of like whether or not Bernie was going to support Biden. I think Bernie's fatal flaw, right, is that he's like too nice.
Oh,
listen, you're gonna Joey. You want to scrum here? Scrum.
I do.
No, because I could
do
totally,
wanna
I could
scrum, but
totally
I don't wanna
moderate
start
this. This is sort of
arguments
like my
right
niche.
this quick. I don't want to start any arguments, so I don't want to start any arguments.
Oh,
This
no,
is
you
a
should.
political podcast, and I am actually well positioned to be the moderator in this one.
Hey Joey, fuck you. What's your
Yeah?
Hey, go fuck
I'm
yourself.
moderating. Fuck you.
No. What's the
Yeah.
what's you're a non-Bernie guy?
Yeah,
Joey?
I'm not a Bernie guy. No, I'm not a Bernie guy.
I'm getting. Is it because of maybe where his people are from? Maybe his like culture.
Oh my god!
I'm just
my
picking up
god! Ugh. No, it was
I'm
because the
kidding.
time the bird landed on him, I realized anyone that's a friend of birds can't be trusted. Seriously,
Oh, interesting.
No. Are we going to me now? Am I supposed to talk now?
I mean, the listeners are familiar with your politics, Joey. Like,
Yeah.
We've done a whole debate here.
Right.
So I don't like. It's not. You're not like a foreign unknown substance to the listeners here.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
it sounds like
just...
you have a point of discourse. We could get into the Trump side of things here, but like clearly, like there's a bone of contention. Vent. You like to vent on this stuff.
Oh yeah. I think that to be fair, I think leftists have an inaccurate way of thinking about politics. I think they believe that, if they just get enough people marching out in the street, that's enough. They don't know how to build coalitions and participate in coalitions. And hence why we're talking about how they're angry at Bernie because he capitulated because I guess they wanted him to run third party or something. I don't know. The smartest leftists right now are AOC and Bernie because they know how to work within a system and how they know how to work in a coalition, and everyone else is just, they get mad at them when they ever make any sort of progress because they think they're working within the system. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think my fundamental disagreement with you there, though, would be that it's not necessarily being upset with Bernie because that we expect that if he would have run third party that he would have done anything different. I think it is just maybe the last, at least as far as I feel, that felt like the last effort or last big push that we have against. Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure if you are, anti-capitalist, or if you think that is a way we should be organizing ourselves or as a society. But it felt like if we had a chance at maybe subverting capital, it was going to be with a left populist leader. And I don't know that we're ever going to get that. And so working within a system that is like just unequivocally designed to suppress the working class, I think is what is upsetting.
See, this is my view this is the problem I see with leftists, at the fundamental. Every problem is a systemic problem, and every systemic problem has one solution: overthrowing capitalism. So everything seems to just tilt in that direction, where revolution is the only answer, a revolution to overthrow capitalism, and anything working within the system is deemed almost destined to fail almost. It's sort of a simplistic view in my mind.
What do you call the state of our government now? Do you call it do you think it's working, or do you think it's in a state of failure?
I mean, it is what it is.
Well,
It's
what
the
is it?
government.
No. It is what it is isn't an answer. What like
No, I mean, I don't
how
know
would
what
you
to say.
describe the
I'm
performance of our
unhappy with
government right now? That's
aspects
a
of
fair
our
question.
government. I think it's we have systemic issues with the Senate that's going to jam everything up and keep progress from happening. But I don't see any
So
other viable path forward other than working within the system, because people aren't going to overthrow our form of representative government. We're not going to get Bernie, he had his chance to test out how politics worked. His idea was, if we get people marching in the street, we can force change. It was an interesting system, but then it hit Mitch McConnell, and that's it.
Go ahead, Dean.
If I could jump in here a little bit. I largely agree with you that I think that like on the whole, like what you would categorize as leftists have a very simplistic and unrealistic view of how American politics work. I do think there's something to be said for building like mass support for different policies. I think that is like also a crucial piece in right. Like obviously you have to work within coalitions and everything.
Yeah.
But
so let me ask you guys this, kind of keep things a little balanced here. What do you make of Bernie's inability to build on the momentum he seemed to be putting together in 2016?
He got owned. He fucked up. I mean, whether it was a campaign problem, whether it was him being too soft, it sucked.
I think one of the, I don't know how big of a mistake this actually was, but I think that part of the problem was that he kind of like staffed his campaign with like Twitter weirdos and like extremely online leftists.
100% agree on that.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You finish your thought.
Oh no, just that I think that that's a problem, and I think that like in some terms, Twitter, like in some ways, Twitter is real life. In that like the media, like the kind of like professional media class, or I'm sorry, like the media like sphere, very much like what happens on Twitter does have like an effect in real life in that way, but not in like a sort of a mass way, and like how actually like most people actually feel about things.
Twitter is great because it amplifies it's very easy to amplify certain narratives because so many media people are on Twitter. So things that happen on Twitter can reverberate around. So I do agree with you on that, and that it's not real life, but it does have a greater impact in some ways. But back to the thing about Bernie, I'm going to surprise you guys. I think Bernie actually probably could have won if he won, at least the primaries, if he had focused on running as the front runner. He was running sort of again as the outsider, running as a disruptor, sort of as a shake up the status quo, but he had already proved his leftist bona fides by that point. He would have been smarter, in my opinion, to run to the center. And I don't mean move anywhere and try to become a centrist in his politics necessarily. I mean try to appeal to the moderates, to play up how he worked with Obama on things, to play up how he's worked within the system, those sort of things. And instead, like you said, I'm sorry if it was Nick or okay, I'm blanking on the other one's name. I'm sorry, Nick and
Dean.
Dean, yeah, it's fine.
I'm not sure if it was Nick or Dean who said this, because I haven't learned your voice yet. Apologies, but I think they were right when they said that he staffed people with Twitter weirdos, people who were, I looked up some of the people who did it. Several of the people he had in charge hadn't actually won campaigns, which you'd think for your campaign, you'd want people who had previously run successful campaigns. And then you got someone like Brianna Greyjoy, who is much more combative than Bernie. And as his
she's basically the left's answer to Neera Tanden. It's very funny to watch those two fight each other because I consider them to be the exact same personality type.
Yeah. I didn't understand why everyone was so upset about Neera until like a moderate, Josh Barrow, who from Left, Right, and Center, Business Insider, he pointed out, if leftists really want to point out that Nira is a problem person, they can just say she got into a lot of weird fights that she didn't have to. Instead, though, they're making claims like, oh, she's really racist because she called out Brianna Drugoi. And it's like, the arguments I'm seeing on Twitter from leftists are kind of in bad faith, because it's like they're trying
Well,
to.
then you're going to have to stay tuned for episode 493, where I go into detail about all of the actually very bad things that Neera Tanden has done over her career, primarily over the last decade. I don't want to spill all my beans, though, right now. But suffice it to say, there's a very strong record against her.
She hasn't responded to any of my DMs, so that's
which is gross, because she's such a mega poster. Like, I demand the engagement, right?
I've said, like, hey baby, I'd love to take care of you. You don't have to do anything.
I am very available.
Yeah. You gotta shoot your shot, man. You gotta shoot your shot.
Yeah.
Like, this is the center for the American progress right here.
Yeah, let's progress towards something else here.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of Neera Tanden's work or Twitter presence, but if you're listening, call me back.
Yeah, hit me up.
Yeah. If you're listening,
Dean said something earlier about Twitter not being real life, but also being real life, and I think it's the problem we get into, and this is where I think, once again, I agree with you about leftists being kind of head in the clouds and not realistic about their approach, and like calls for revolution. And like, you follow any leftist on Twitter and it makes you want to fucking kill yourself, because they all have like guillotines in their profile pictures, and all of them are like completely unfit or willing or wanting to get rid of any sort of minor creature comfort, nevertheless get rid of everything to like revolt or whatever.
It's the same. It's two sides of the same coin, where you have like LARPers on the left and the right. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think what you end up with, though, is either by a Adam Smithian unseen hand of the left being so ambiguous that it no longer serves a threat to any sort of status quo of the way this country operates, or you have like intentional disruption within it to make it just, silly. I can tell, and not to disparage it, but I can tell by your tone that you think of the left as kind of something silly, which I do as well, which is why at the top of this I said that I've kind of become so disillusioned with it, because I don't even know what it means anymore to be like a leftist in America. And I think the only things that you can point to are where it's worked in the past, which is, a humongous example is Norway, and Norway getting its roots from the Soviet Union and the Bolsheviks, and being able to form something that is a much better country to live in than what we have here.
I even look at like American history examples, like the Students for the Democratic Society. Like, you've actually had like real like leftist on the ground sort of movements. To kind of get my 2 cents in here, I think my frustration with the left over the last 4 to 5 years, like, is what I would maybe term the chopification of leftist politics. And that a lot of leftist politics has become the politics of podcasts. And so you want to have a politics that tracks with a podcasting brand, so everything kind of like, so especially in politics podcasts, just like Rush Limbaugh, you've got heroes, our guys, you've got villains, those guys over there. For Rush Limbaugh, it's the dirty liberals. They've been destroying America for 35 years.
And loving every minute of it.
Yeah, and for Chapo, they have their villains and their ghouls too. Because that has become a driving force in leftist politics, and it hasn't allowed for a more sort of serious discussion of what like popular mobilization means, for example, or like when a pandemic happens, what is the leftist vision of what government response is? And it is now more catchphrases rather than hard and serious policies serving as a serious critique of a democratic establishment I find deeply lacking on the policy front.
I would push back a little bit on that and say that if anyone of any side of the political compass here is offering any sort of like real solutions for people, it will be on the left side, because if you have the more moderate Democrats, I mean, it's so funny, Joe Biden's slogan, like healing the soul of America by doing an extremely means-tested $100 rebate for your, college debt, versus working with, I mean, I know leftists in Houston that are putting up like community fridges all over the place that are offering unlimited food and food deserts for people that just can't afford it. And so whenever you find those programs, and then historically this has been the case, they have been from leftists. So like boots on the ground, actually affecting people's lives, not trying to pundit and brain Nate Silver their way into some milquetoast policy that gets passed that'll help, some percentage point of people that will get overturned in the next 10 years or so. I think to me that when I see the organizations doing that, they're the ones on the left, or they're the people on the left rather. Maybe they're not even necessarily affiliated with any sort of political organization, but they're the way they live their lives is telling of where they would fall on a political compass.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think we're talking about different scales of problems. So when we're dealing with something like the coronavirus, I am looking for someone of the stature of a guy like Anthony Fauci. Not doesn't have to be Fauci. Like, it's not about like, burning a candle for Fauci. Oh, I love him so much or anything like that. But like, that guy has spent his entire life studying the Spanish flu. And when it comes to a bureaucratic response or an administrative response, he doesn't need to be a hard leftist in order to actually have the answers. I guess is my point. So no. I don't think like I don't think it's a monopoly when you're talking about problems on that scale. Yeah, no, leftists like kick the shit out of liberals on that front. When it comes to administrative stuff, it's a little shaky hand. Depends on the country you're talking about.
Yeah. And I think oh, go ahead. Sorry, I've been.
Well, I think any leftist administration would probably run into a problem that Trump had, where there was sort of a dearth. Am I using that word right? Dearth, whatever.
Yeah, it's a lack of. But I don't think you're as shy on leftist policy wonks as you are right-wing policy wonks.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I start saying, and there was no way. The main problem with Trump was he wanted like Trumpists.
He wanted loyalists. Yeah. You'd have a bifurcation. I mean, if anything, Sanders would probably just like let the bull run in all these different directions.
But Trump's problem was there weren't many right-wing populists with his vision. Many, I guess, what paleo-conservative sort of, but with a populist bent too. Like sort of a Pat Buchanan-esque.
Yeah, like Bannon.
It was Bannonism. Yeah, Bannon was the only guy who actually believed in Trumpism. I think that was in the administration. There might have been a Stephen Miller too, but he was more about the immigration stuff. And it's, they got the tariff guy in there. I'm blanking on his name. They got a few Trumpian people in there, but they weren't like A-class.
Like Peter Navarro's pretty Trumpy.
Well, yeah, but he's also not that good at what he's doing. And there was Lightsinger too. He was, anyway. The big problem with Trump is like he doesn't know how to effectively wield power. Like recently with this 230 thing, Section 230, where he's holding up this defense bill trying to get it passed. The 230.
I want the NDAA to not pass just over Section 230. It's like nothing would be more of a reflection of where our broken, extremely online society is than for the annual defense spending bill to not get passed because Republicans have a bitch against Facebook.
Well, it's because Trump got mad about diaper Dawn trending. That's part of it on Twitter. And we were talking about Twitter not being real life, but it's like broken Trump's brain even more.
Well, no, I think that's we had a good discussion about how like Twitter is not real life is kind of an unuseful phrase. Like Dave Rubin likes that one, but like it both is and isn't. Like, and that's kind of sort of the tricky thing is like on Twitter, you really can see what the forming conventional wisdom is around stuff. Like, this weird conventional wisdom that's forming around defund the police, killing Democrats all across the country on all these different elections. You can see that form on Twitter. And that is a reflection of real life. But at the same time, like, when someone gets ratioed on Twitter, that doesn't really mean anything the next day. Especially, certain people get ratioed every single day, and it's not like they just disappear.
I hate the people who think they get ratioed and then they think then like I've been ratioed, I've been canceled or something like that just because they get ratioed once. I hate them. But I will say this about leftists. I admire the sort of the desire of leftists to use every tool and power of the government to sort of force confrontation. I do think Democrats are often it's like they're embarrassed to exercise power. That in a perfect Democrat world, they'd have 51 senators or something, and everything would have to pass by them convincing 9 Republicans to agree with them, or maybe like 59.
This Senate they're about to get is certain Democrats and leader. You know it too. It is certain members of leadership's dream scenario where they can launder everything they want to launder through the Republicans, but they didn't want to do it anyways. And like a really good example of that is this this stuff around the coronavirus stimulus bill, where you had during the election, Pelosi was at 2.2 trillion. Trump came all the way up to 1.8 trillion. And now the package that Pelosi and Schumer are willing to agree on and compromise is half of what Trump was offering. Like,
because Trump was never the block. It was always McConnell.
But she didn't even want to agree to the 1.8 is what I'm saying. Like they love this. They love the whole Gang of 8 stuff. They loved it during the Obama years. They are going to love this Joe Manchin, Mitt Romney world that we are about to live in.
I think the last couple of years have actually radicalized a bunch of them because
Who?
they're talking openly. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like Manchin originally was showing some interest in it, but then he walked.
You think Manchin got radicalized?
A bit. I think he got pissed off about
on what?
ACB or Barrett. I think he got pissed about Barrett. Because I think the Democrats in the Senate could deal with Mitch McConnell delaying and basically stealing one Supreme Court seat. I think they got really fucking pissed that he stole 2 basically by changing the rules, creating new rules, and then disregarding his own rules. I think that pissed off a lot of them.
Who else?
But I'm not gonna. That's just my general sense. I don't have any proof for my general sense. Okay, is that you happy? But
no, I'm just asking. I just
it's a
wanted
feeling.
To know.
It's not really something I can back up. But tying it back to the Section 230 thing. Trump, if he was smart, if he really cared about legacy and was a little bit smarter, he wouldn't be trying to derail the defense bill with this Section 230 thing. He'd be tying it, saying you have to pass a Corona bill or else I'm going to veto it, because there actually is bipartisan support to get a coronavirus bill passed, and it is Mitch McConnell that's holding it up. Trump has never understood the best use of power would be pressuring Republicans to do stuff, but he only ever pressures them to do stuff that, like, the far right base one only, or stuff that Republicans already wanted to do, or like help them cover up crimes or stuff.
Yeah, no, Mitch McConnell's really owned Trump ever since Trump got himself in trouble with Comey. I think the power dynamic between those two was basically set in stone.
Yeah.
The second Trump crossed the red line firing Comey, McConnell's like, I will keep you safe from this Mueller probe. I will make sure that the Senate Republicans and the congressional Republicans fall in line. We will make sure we continue to vote in ways that will protect you. In exchange for that, we drive the car now. And any time Trump tried to buck up against that, he, had a way of putting pressure back on Trump. I think that was the original.
They were driving the car from the beginning, though. I mean, the first thing Trump did was the healthcare stuff, which was super unpopular, because they wanted to repeal Obamacare. If Trump had been smart, he would have tried to do a bipartisan like infrastructure bill or something like that, which he probably could have done in the first 100 days. But instead, he gets bogged down with this Obamacare stuff, which.
I mean, you say that, but then we look at the election results here. I don't want to get lost in those, but Trump appealed to his base basically nakedly for 4 years and did increase his turnout. There is something to be said for that. Yes, he of course lost the popular vote, but he also increased his numbers, his raw total, by a non-negligible amount. So
that's real fucked up.
It is fucked up. And I think there's like, I don't think a real reckoning has been done on that yet. Nick, Dean, let us pivot into a little bit on the slate here. Mike Flynn. Guys, is he your favorite general? Where, if you're thinking about generals in American history, Dean, where do you rank Mike Flynn?
He's up there.
He's up there. I know he's definitely up there.
He's under Petraeus.
Yeah, no,
sure.
total living legend, David Petraeus.
The goat.
Total Chad.
He's a goat. Yeah, no, I heard goat tossed out there. I'm with you. He did it.
I guess to me it depends on how big is he? How tall is he?
Flynn? I feel like Flynn's kind of a short man. I don't think Flynn's very tall.
Because I
have no idea.
Apparently,
let's get a height check. Joey, give me a height check on Flynn. I need a Flynn fact. 5'9".
5'9".
5'9".
Okay, so he's the perfect. He's a perfect height that
pretty good height.
Every woman wants that height.
That is true. That's a great height. That's my height.
I do not. No, not 5. Well, for the ladies maybe, but
when he's got his hobnail boots on, strutting.
I'm trying to see if have there been any. Okay, so we have I don't know. Benito Juarez was 4'6". I'm not sure who that is.
I don't know.
Why bring it up?
That is why bring it. He was 4'6" and he was a general.
We're gonna.
You want to talk about overcoming adversity?
Yeah, exactly. How tall were you when you were a general, Joey?
Benito Juarez.
Yeah.
Like you're asking how tall I was in general?
No, I was. No. Don't try to pivot. Don't try to pivot. So Flynn. I'm very glad he was pardoned. Definitely innocent on all of the things he did. Joey, don't you agree?
Oh, Flynn is a huge piece of shit. Let's just
No, he's the fucking worst. Oh
yeah, he's right now. He's trying to get he's trying to get with his little like I don't even know what to call him now, but like he has like this cadre of conspiracy theorists. Like he's basically QAnon, but not really. He's QAnon adjacent. Let's say that.
His son is QAnon.
What? Yeah.
Mike Flynn Jr.
I forgot about his son.
Yeah, Mike Flynn Jr. is also a mega poster. He was also a big time shit poster. But yeah, no, he's QAnon. He's like Rick and Brunel.
But yeah, Flynn is like trying to get people now to he's basically telling Trump to go to martial law and just try enact martial law and just order second elections, things like that, things that are like insane, and
it's barely registering on people's radars. Like this guy, the thing that's weird about the Flynn stuff to me is not like this is some random online troll. Like Mike Flynn was a 3-star general and was once held in extremely high regard in his specialty niche or whatever. He flew too high to the sun and like kind of lost. I mean, like the reports of him in the last decade here were kind of shaky, like, Flynn facts and everything else. But Flynn was once held as like a reputable dude, and he is. I mean, he's a joke now. Beyond being, somewhat kind of traitorous.
Yeah, and it's him and his brother Joseph Flynn Jr. They've all become like MAGA celebrities on Twitter, and this is the whole corner with Sidney Powell, his former lawyer, who's pushing all this. The one thing I want to point out though, Sidney Powell is a fucking idiot, or she's really bad at her job, because with Flynn, Barr was basically bending the DOJ to Trump's will and getting them to drop all this stuff. Any lawyer would just be on their knees thanking the Lord for all this. But Powell ends up extending it because she starts filing motions with the judge. She is arguing against Trump just doing the pardon, which is, insane from a lawyer's perspective. They'd want a presidential pardon if they could get it, but she's apparently on record as telling Trump not to do this, and she's arguing with the judge even after all the judge wanted to do was hold a hearing on the matter after the DOJ dropped things, and but she argues he stood and goes and appeals up. That takes up time, and then it comes back down, and then the judge does something else, and then she tries to do another. She ends up basically extending it for 6 months, maybe more, and that's why Flynn is getting pardoned, or at least part of it, because she did such a bad job, and people think she's a miracle worker, like in the MAGA crowd, and you're seeing that with her like ridiculous Kraken lawsuits where she keeps messing things up. She's not a good lawyer.
I enjoyed the one form that she was supposed to submit that was like a online form that you had to have the signature and the date, just real basic stuff, like a certificate thing. And she sent it back without any of the information in any of the fields. So she
it
literally
was a motion to appear. To appear.
She didn't file the motion because literally none of the entry fields were filed in the motion to appear. Like, she doesn't know how to do basic documentation. And this is... Well, she was at one point the lawyer for the Trump campaign, and then they disavowed her a couple of weeks ago when she was like, "Don't vote in the Georgia election," which is still a meme. Guys, what do y'all make of the "don't vote in the Georgia election" stuff?
Yeah, Dean, you take this one.
I was gonna say I feel bad. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so Republicans, especially like the MAGAverse, have gotten so disgusted with the inability for us to trust our voting system. You can't trust the votes. Votes totally rigged. So why even vote in the Georgia runoffs?
Well, can I summarize it actually?
Go ahead. Sure.
Well, here's what happened. There was a glitch in the Dominion voting software in like Wisconsin sometime
I've
early
heard
in
Dominion.
elections.
They work with Hugo Chavez.
Yeah. But basically, that it was one thing that was caught really quick, where it's like 6,000 votes briefly went to Biden that should have gone to Trump, and they immediately fixed it. But this got all the conspiracy theorists like in a huff over Dominion, so they started paying attention to it, and they started like a lot of conspiracies about Dominion and Georgia.
It has a great conspiracy name. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, I mean, it's important. If you're going to have a conspiracy around a nefarious organization, it's got to have a nefarious name. And Dominion's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like if they were named like Omnibus or something like that.
The Chaos Emeralds voting system.
There you go.
The Blackfire Group or the Blackstone.
Yeah, Blackstone, Blackfire. Yeah, BlackRock Group. Yeah. Like that.
Anyway, but and Dominion basically had a bunch of conspiracy. There's a lot of different conspiracy theories about Dominion. They don't know if the Dominion techs were involved or if Iran hacked it through, or China. They think maybe the best one is the Venezuela connection, where it's Venezuela apparently worked with Smartemic to create a way to hack the votes in Venezuela. This is not proven, by the way. This is just
holy shit. You really got into this conspiracy theory. Like, I host this show, and I have not spent anywhere near the amount of time.
I found it fascinating, but it's all
for sure.
This anonymous affidavit about some guy who worked with Chavez, and he says that they created this magical system. And here's the thing: Smartemic isn't Dominion, but they get around this by the guy saying they're fundamentally similar, because it's like they want to pretend like the program is DNA and that they share certain like alleles or whatever, because they both count voting. So basically, they're saying that since Hugo Chavez had this thing with Smartemic, then Dominion must have the similar thing, because maybe it was built off the bones of Smartemic. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
It's like a Mad Lib. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Well, they think the Venezuela stuff came about from the CIA tech, too. And so the whole Dominion thing is you don't know if Iran hacked it, China hacked it, the CIA hacked it, and it's just very confusing. But what they do know is, because if Georgia has Dominion, then that means Brian Kemp and the Republican Secretary of State must have been bribed by Dominion to use the Dominion voting software. So that's why they're really mad at Kemp for not.
And then also that Secretary of State in Georgia. Yeah.
Also, I just love the idea that that the Democratic administration would be favorable for any of those countries versus like Republican administration.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's the big one. Like there's a lot of like weird tensions. Like with Iran, it's kind of like I don't really know what the Republican end game is there with Iran. Like the Democrats have a clear strategy. They want to have a nuclear deal with Iran. They think that will convince Iran that you don't live in a dangerous world. You don't need nuclear weapons from hostile, powers like Israel nearby. You've got this deal with us. Trust it. Sort of ignoring the Gaddafi precedent. With Republicans, they've never had the balls to actually attack Iran, which is a good thing. But like it's not really clear what the off ramp is for them either.
I think they would just want war.
They don't though. I mean,
I think they do.
I think they like teasing war. I don't, and I almost kind of think they would rather Iran have a nuclear weapon, so that they can have a book. No, obviously Israel doesn't want that, but the U.S. politicians like the idea of boogeymanning off of a nuclear armed state.
Well, they also like negative motivating factors. I mean, that has been the case for. I mean, you could argue the last 2 presidential elections were won on negative motivating factors instead.
I certainly would. Yeah.
Instead of positive motivating factors.
Yeah, I think we are deep in an era of negative partisanship. In a weird way, like I have a lot of critiques of Biden's unity message, but one of my more subtle critiques is that we are in a negative partisanship moment. People don't actually want to unite with the other side. If you're an actual liberal, actual progressive, black pilled or whatever, you look at the MAGA people and they're fucking chuds. They're like people you don't want to be associated with. You don't support building a wall to keep all the illegal immigrants out. You don't support like a patriarchal system. You don't support the cops being able to get away with harassing and beating up poor people largely of color. Like they're repellent to you. And conversely, if you're one of these MAGA people, you are fed the left and the liberals are the worst. And every podcast from Steven Crowder to Ben Shapiro brings up this idea of liberal tears. Like we are in an anti-unity, negative partisanship moment right now.
It's true, but I think that I would push back just a little bit in that I think that that people, especially like young, well, not just young people, but I think they can be especially susceptible to this. They are alienated from our political system. I mean, they're alienated from society, right? Like we all are to some degree. And it's I think the strategy on the right is to kind of scapegoat, right? Like you can blame these things on, like we all know there's something wrong, right? But if you can point to like, well, it's because of like racial minorities, or it's because of X, Y, and Z, and then Trump has these like appeals to populism, but actually still has like a very neoliberal administration, with the exception of like some tariff stuff with China, but still tax cuts on the rich. Doesn't actually build the wall. Not that that's like a thing that I think would be good, but I guess I personally can be like, I understand how someone could like be misled down that path. And I think there's a lot of like dark money on the right that goes into like creating those pathways, right? Like through all the like media channels that you mentioned.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you're looking at the online podcast media sphere, especially right-wing podcasts, there is a big gulf in terms of money from outside dark media sources. I think it does make a qualitative difference in the level of broadcast you get from those two different source or outlets. But with the right, they have a ton of money, so that's why they have a really huge YouTube presence. And that's why like Steven Crowder and a lot of these guys, Heartland Institute, all the PragerU stuff. You need a lot of money to get that worldview out there.
They earned that. I mean, by being
no, for sure.
It's funny. We were talking about something earlier about Twitter being real life or not real life, and I think you can abstract that further and say that the life as we know it isn't necessarily real life, because it is something being presented to us and advertised to us and sold to us constantly.
Is this going to be an Elon Musk thing where you start telling us that we're all living in a simulation?
No,
No,
I
the
think
the
what
only
he's getting at more is like a broader societal disconnection that all of us feel, right down to being on a Zoom call most of the time or working from home. And it was going like this anyways over the last 10 years. We're online more, we're on our screens more.
yeah,
We aren't
the only
seeing each other in person as much anymore.
yeah. I mean, the only thing I'll say about Elon Musk is I cannot wait for him to die on Mars.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be so, no. I want him to like
fuck that
take
dumb
off the
bitch.
helmet, light up the blunt, and then realize there's no air. As he's like gasping and trying to get high. And
Yeah, I want him to get up to get to Mars and then accuse Mars of being a pedophile and then like gasp for air.
Yeah.
Because Mars doesn't want to use its dumbass little capsule.
he should
or
make a
something. But
tiny submarine to go into the tiny amounts of water that are on Mars.
he's a fucking idiot. Elon Musk is a fucking idiot. But what I meant about the abstraction is that even you mentioned we're doing Zoom calls, we're doing all this. Everyone now is convinced that you have to have pundit brain and you have to think about politics in this way.
Oh, like it's a game.
Like it's a game, or like it is something that is a duty as a citizen, as an educated citizen, as an informed citizen. And if you don't bring up something, I mean, a lot of things you guys were talking about, this is like I haven't even read about it or listened to it, and the immediate feeling I have is a twinge of guilt of like, oh shit, I probably should have paid more attention or whatever. But in my opinion, in actuality, a citizen's role is to just fucking make demands. Like you make demands, and you don't need to be min-maxing what policies and what
Thinking about constant context.
Yeah, it's just kind of a hellish existence we live in, and we're being constantly convinced otherwise. But in reality, it's just suffering.
No, I get what you're saying.
Life
here.
is suffering, though.
Yeah.
Well, okay, all right. That's getting into philosophy class. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, it's okay. I just think that really that speaks to like a really stark divide, though, in that like one of the, I mean, right, like people on the left like to, I mean, obviously look at things through a lens of like class, like a class-based analysis, right? Well, not everybody on the left, but like an orthodox left.
Yeah, classic like Marxist analysis sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that like that, I mean, for various reasons, that is like is lacking or needs supplementation like now, right? I think it goes without saying. But I think that like one of the like class, it's not really like the class-based line, but there's the shift between college educated professionals and non-college educated people. Because I think these are the lines that things are divided upon, because you can have people who are not college educated who are making like more money than people who are these like college educated like coastal elites who are like in media spheres, the people on Twitter, and that's almost a more telling, like you can learn more by looking at that divide about like how someone's going to feel about a given issue than you can about just based on like their income.
Yeah, that's
the blue wave in the midterms were won by wealthy suburbanite Democrats.
I don't know about that necessarily.
No, it was. No, the Democrats have actually shored up a decent amount of support among like upper middle wealthy suburbanites. It's kind of like the main source of defection in swing voting right now.
Yeah, I mean the midterms were determined by that voting block.
Well, it's by virtue of the districting and stuff, Joey. Like it's the fact that there's this finite universe of battleground districts and this finite universe of electoral college votes that really matter. And when you shake it all out like that, the people who really matter are really matter. But the people who are the difference maker in these elections are suburbanites and stuff.
Well, the thing is, they aren't the determinant. It doesn't matter if the suburbanite level stayed where it was and the black turnout dropped substantially. Then suburbanites wouldn't have won. It's the only reason.
No, you're right, but that's not what happened.
In this case, is because the suburbanites were the extra oomph that was needed. That was the big change, versus 2016. But it doesn't mean anyone else was less determined. It's just that was the factor that helped win it. That was the change from before. I will speak that too and say it's sort of a great irony, I think, at the moment of this time where it's like the rise of right-wing populism and there was this attempt to sort of a resurgence of the hard left, with like Corbyn and sort of with Sanders too, although I wouldn't say Sanders is necessarily as hard left as like Corbyn. But the great irony is that, the left hasn't won the working class. Like they sort of almost fetishize the working class in a sort of sense, but they're losing it to the right. And that's sort of just this great irony, I think, at the moment,
Well,
I think it's a conceptualization of the working class that's sort of dooming them. Like you have like a trope of what the working man is, Joe Sixpack versus the actual what is a working individual think, breathe, feel in the year 2020.
That is a good point. I mean, if we're considering working class people go to like a clothing, working like a cashier, but I mean, people think working class think of like fishmongers, I guess, or like people who like work in a coal
John
mine
the Butcher.
They think of jobs that largely don't exist anymore.
Yeah. It's not Steve the Uber driver.
Joe the plumber. That was who it was. Joe the plumber.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it recently, but there was some article, I think it was in the New York Times or some, I don't know, some fucking thing, but it was like, meet the Uber driver who made $7,000 in a month, driving for Uber or whatever. And it was like, here's how he did it. And you don't have to read the article to know that like he just worked 23 hours of the day, right? Like,
wasn't that a guy who like worked for the company too, in the sense of like they did that as like an advertisement sort of thing?
It doesn't even matter if it was or it wasn't. It serves the same purpose, which is like,
this one exceptional case is representative somehow of the opportunity that everyone working for the Uber Corporation has.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sliding things so far into you are individually responsible, and I think that is where, if I have to like identify like my core political philosophical foundations, is that you are not individually responsible. Like the things that are affecting you, there are so many variables and things are coming at you from so many sides. And that's why I am sympathetic towards, the MAGA chuds or whatever, because I mean, are a lot of them racist? Yeah, for sure. But when Hillary said it in one of the debates where like half of them are racist or xenophobic or sexist or whatever, like, I mean, I disagree with that. I think that like,
well, she was kind of right though. There
was
a basket full of deplorables that were.
I mean, you were just absolutely putting the burden of like, so I mean, think about the people that
I'm just giving.
Well,
credit
that's the burden we all have to face. We all have to.
No, it's not the burden I. It's not the burden I had to face.
No, I'm giving Trump supporters credit that when they saw the guy who said all Mexicans are rapists and some of them are like everyone coming across the border when Mexico sends them, they're not our best and they're all rapists or whatever. Like, I think that there was enough clear signaling from Donald Trump that I want to give the Trump supporters some credit. They understood what they watched on the TV screen and what they heard at the rallies, and they liked it. I
mean, just to jump in, I understand. I kind of like, I understand what both of you are saying, and I agree with both to like some degree. But Chris, like, what is that? Then what do you say for like the huge Latino base that Trump has and the huge Latino turnout he got in this election?
He does not have a huge Latino base.
So I would
larger percentage of Latinos than like Mitt Romney had. That's not a huge Latino base. A huge Latino base would be like. Yes,
I'm Chris. So I got this one. So I would say two things here. One, I think that Joey's right when he says quantitatively it's not as large as someone would say. And so you have just a default pool of people who vote Republican. I have known some of these people in passing from past relationships, like dads of women I've dated and that sort of thing. Like I kind of get the mental profile of that type of person. I also think inside of the Latino community, especially among Gen X and Boomer and older, that there are a lot more religiosity and a lot more of an emphasis of traditional gender roles. And so the stuff that Donald Trump is putting out there about kind of like women have a place, like he never says it quite like that, but he's always putting women in his place and that sort of thing, right down to Megyn Kelly and the blood coming out of her, whatever, and everything like that. Yeah, I think that there's like a certain subset of the audience that like, that men over women stuff really lands with.
I think
I
also
don't
another.
disagree with you, by the way.
I think one other aspect that no one really is commenting on is, like, especially in Texas, a lot of Latinos on the border work for Border Patrol or know someone who does. I think that
Yeah,
might be.
that'd be the other one. So the last thing I would get into is, and you see this across minority communities. It's not just unique to the United States here either, but you see people want to participate in the overclass system. And so people of minority backgrounds inside of whatever the overclass society is, let's say UK, UK white overclass society. You see people immigrate to the UK, and one of the ways they feel that they will be accepted and embraced inside of the culture that they've immigrated into is by embracing the orthodoxy and the hierarchical structure that is already there. An embrace of the overclass maybe makes you one of the good ones.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I can see that. I just also think that it's kind of like the way I think the Democrats do this, and I think that leftists do it too. They just kind of like try to do it in different ways. Is that they try to use like people of color as like so they view them as sort of like a monolith, right? And they say like X people, they believe this, or they support this, or or like, oh well, like we inherently have the support of people of color because we are anti-racist or whatever. And I just think that that's not true, because I think that a lot of times their conception of what anti-racism is.
Oh,
I mean,
so
if you
I
don't
completely
vote
agree.
if you don't vote for Biden, you ain't black. Is all I gotta say.
Oh God! Everyone obsesses about that one.
He
little
bombed the
throwaway
shit out of
comment that he
those Charlemagne the
apologized
God
for.
interviews, dude. He bombed the shit out of
Wait,
them.
wait,
Well, no,
are you
but
are you
like,
are
he
you a
is
big Biden?
Awkward
Are you a big
comment
Biden
doesn't
head?
mean he's racist. It means he's just lame.
Oh,
I'm
well,
never gonna say that he's bad, he's racist, he's bad. I don't think that's like a very convincing or interesting
I
argument.
think he's cool. Biden. I think Biden's cool. I
What?
think he's. Yeah, I think he's cool. I think
Cool?
Biden.
Like awesome cool? Like, have you? Is it that sunglass pic where he's in that yellow car? Is that why you're saying he's cool?
No, I think he's saying he's preferable to Trump, maybe.
I'm saying, well, maybe, but I'm saying Biden probably, if I had to be stuck at a Luby's.
Oh, sure, yeah.
If I'm sitting at the end of the table with Biden, I'm probably having a pretty good time, because he's telling me about a time he pushed a rusty shopping cart into like a gully, and it was like a super fun time for him or something. But like, I guess I don't know. I'm sympathetic with people that see something in maybe Trump or in the Republicans, whereas you take it part and parcel with the racism, because that's on display for sure, and you can't excuse it. But I think like people are inherently full of contradictions, and you are forever making contradictions within yourself and all the time, and that's just what it is to exist. And I think you make certain trade-offs, either consciously or subconsciously, and I think sometimes people are just desperate for something else. And
No, I think I agree with
can
you in this sense. The Democratic candidate, the Democratic Party of our two-party system, ostensibly supposed to be the progressive party, with the Republicans being the more conservative party. The Democratic candidate in 2016 and 2020 has gone to bat with a message of a return to normalcy, steady as she goes, status quo sort of message. And it has opened up this lane for a very hollow critique of society that Trump and Bannon were able to craft. They were able to point to certain problems, offer like non-solutions, right down to, we're just going to build this little structure out in the desert, and if we build this one structure out in the desert, this magic structure will fix things. And that was really,
and at the time, I think 2/3 of illegal immigration was visa overstays or something like that.
and it had tapered down substantially during the Obama years as compared to the George W. Bush years. All the numbers weren't the issue, right? It was about a feeling. It was, yeah, I mean, like even to that point, insofar Trump is speaking to a real wrong track sense that we have. However, in identifying the wrong track problems, he's not even right, because in the case of immigration, immigration over the last decade is off over 50% what it was in the aughts. It just simply is not. The illegal immigration problem just simply is not the same scope of problem that it once was.
Well, the thing is with Trump is I can understand him coming in as like a wrecking ball for radical change, in 2016, but the
He
radical
couldn't run
change,
on it a second time, and people still want radical change.
yeah, but like the radical change. I'm sorry, I just got distracted by a pop up of an email. 1 second.
I hate it when that happens. Be careful not to click on that, otherwise you'll get fished like John Podesta.
Oh no, it's from like my aunts trying to get me to.
Yeah, that's what Podesta thought.
And you're okay, so maybe it's not from anyway. Where was I? Well, the thing with Trump and radical changes in 2016, yeah, I can sort of see him coming in and proposing radical solutions and things like that, and maybe people, but it's like he's run really a lot more closer as like a traditional Republican in a lot of ways. Like,
oh no, it's totally how he's governing. I'm just saying that the Democratic Party has left with these normalcy candidates, has left this lane open of we are not the status quo. And the one thing, like almost as reliably as the popular vote going to the Democratic nominee, the American people like the change candidate. Almost every single time they vote for the candidate who they think is going to deliver the bigger change. Go back to 2000 if you want to say Bush won that one. Bush was the bigger departure from Al Gore. They voted for Bush. Go to 2008. They voted for Barack Obama, the change guy. 2012, who's the bigger change? Barack Obama or Mitt Romney? Yeah, Barack Obama's the incumbent, but we also kind of know that he's the bigger change between the two of them. Go to 2016, Donald Trump's the bigger change agent between him and Hillary Clinton. Go to 2020, Joe Biden. Yes, he's selling in normalcy. Yes, you've seen him your whole damn life. He's still a bigger change than the current incumbent.
Yep.
America likes change.
Yeah, but I will say I think that like the running a more moderate candidate, or like someone who is kind of like saying that they were like, I mean, literally saying like, if you vote for me, you will get the status quo, was actually like more effective this time than it would have been in any other election up until this point. I think that was like not necessarily a bad strategy.
I have no idea what lessons to take from this election whatsoever. I mean, it was.
There's some good older episodes of Don't Worry About the Government in recent
Well, the thing is,
here.
it's like we got both sides got it was a purple wave, I guess you want to say it, purple wave. And I'm debating whether to try to sing that like Prince. I've decided not to. But
you put it out there in the air so we can all imagine it in our heads at home.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, Prince.
I pray to the chemtrails in the sky. Every time I see one, I remember you, buddy.
Every time I take a tramadol, I think of you, buddy.
That's resting in peace.
Yeah. Anyway, but it was a purple wave. There was some weird stuff, and it's like we don't even have the exit polling right. People are saying wait with the Latino stuff, but don't do any takes on that until we get the full. We normalize the exit polling and things like that, or normalize the data. And it's like, what are we supposed to take of things? So it's like, some a bunch of centrists lost, but it's not like the left. That doesn't necessarily mean that the leftists would have won, because those were like swing districts. I mean, Ilhan Omar, she underperformed Biden, but there was a third party spoiler and a free weed. I think that's the only lesson we can take. Legalize weed. Democrats need to get on that, because drugs.
Oh yeah, no, the legalized
drugs won big. That's the big.
The legalized weed argument. The evidence is overwhelming. On one side at this point. And everyone who's arguing against it is just basically an anti-legalization person, because they don't have the data with them anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say, I mean, just like legalize it everywhere. I'm not so sure about magic mushrooms and things like that, but weed, yeah, sure.
Since you spent so much time on Dominion, I suggest at some point set aside some Dominion time to look into the effects of magic mushrooms on multiple psychological ailments, up to and including depression. There is now a decent amount of peer-reviewed medical studies on the matter that suggests that magic mushrooms have a real beneficial purpose for people.
Yeah, I mean, I was an anarcho-capitalist until I had one big mushroom trip, and then that made me into the leftist I am today.
Yeah, anarcho-capitalism, huh? Reading your what was the guy's name? Hope, whatever, doesn't matter.
No, it's not worth it. What are you guys drug guys? What's up?
I don't a drug guy.
I mean, you're either a drug guy or not a drug guy.
Did I do a lot of drugs in college and high school? Yes.
Okay.
Do I do them anymore? No. And I just smoke pot. But yeah, no, I've been around. Yeah.
I'm using a pseudonym here, so I can admit it. I have done it in a very untraditional way because I'm the only one who's ever done it only legally. Because I went to Colorado after it was legalized on a trip with my brother, and that's the only time I've ever done it. And I had an edible. I had it the first 2 times. It was okay, but on last night, I thought my heart was stopping and kept telling everyone I could no longer breathe. And I was saying that for like 5 or 10 minutes. I was telling everyone over and over I couldn't breathe. And finally, they just turned on some music and just left the room.
I'm very sorry we don't have the audio from that night.
This is just a weed edible?
It was a drink.
Yeah, I mean it'll fuck you up.
Honestly, I think it's funny that like people who like don't use marijuana will go to a legal state or whatever and use edibles when that's like probably the worst thing you could do if you're worried about like having too much.
It's hard. I know. Like whatever I have like non-smoking friends who will occasionally go like, Chris, and then they'll always go like, I don't want to smoke it. I want to do edibles. And I know that this person does not imbibe or take in THC on any regular basis. And I'm sitting here going like, sometimes I eat a brownie and go like, shit, that was a bit much. Like if you never do this, you're going to be on a ride, bro.
I mean, even if you do, I mean, I mostly don't do it. I mean, one of the last times I did edibles, I remember distinctly going to the bathroom and holding on to both sides of the sink and just like staring at the mirror and saying like, I don't want to be high anymore. I don't want to be high anymore. I don't want to be high anymore. But it's like, great, I've got 6 more hours of this. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm just gonna jump in here, Chris, and I feel bad. I was gonna give you the opportunity to steer us back on track.
Yeah, no,
we've like hijacked your show.
No, I don't. I've done like nearly 500 of these things. Sometimes, like, I don't mind me.
I saw that and I was very impressed by it.
Yeah, no, hey, and like, I don't normally give a shit about any of the anniversaries because, like, we've now rolled by several of them. Something about 500 actually has some weight. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm eager. It means nothing, but it means something.
No, it's an accomplishment for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't done anything 500 times in a row. Maybe wake up, but like, that's just happenstance.
Yeah, no, like that's the weird milestone. Like I can now see like Slate from like 2012 and stuff, and you go, shit, that's a long time ago. Yeah. I know. I run into like old files and stuff on hard drives. I'm like,
the first episode, you were like, here are the reasons why we have to invade Iraq.
no, I have one of those. So early Chris was way more
some really
libertarian.
Weird reason.
So early Chris was way more like libertarian with like some leftist, like kind of like anti-establishment sensibilities.
So, like,
like,
did we all have a Ron Paul phase?
I was Ron Paul-ish. Like I was not a Ron Paul guy, but I was like someone who would have been fine with Ron Paul somehow being president. And now I don't know that I would say such a thing.
That was like Reddit in 2012, though. That was like that was what Reddit and all those early websites were like. They all had that sort of libertarian sort of edge to them, you know?
2012 or a little earlier than that.
Yeah,
for me, it was like 2008.
Yeah, I thought it was earlier, like
pre-Obama. Like 2000.
No, yeah, he was kind of at his rise around then, and like, yeah, dude, like the online. For those of us who like, we're all like the right age for this. Those of us who've been online for so long, the online has always had its preferred candidates. Like the idea of like Bernie as the online left, like as this like new sort of thing that gets presented. Nah, dude, like the internet's always had its preferred people. You guys remember No Labels?
I've heard about No Labels recently, but I like missed it completely.
Okay, in 2012, they actually tried to make like this weird third party thing where they were going to nominate someone online, and there was like a whole website, and essentially both parties hated the shit out of this idea. and the person who was winning most of the polls, to the chagrin of no labels, who wanted a centrist decentrist who was like dead center of Centrisville. I'm trying to get a dead center on the camera here. Was Ron Paul. And so eventually, when Ron Paul was like chugging on the No Labels nomination, No Labels like, this is not what our brand is about.
It's so funny when every time they ever do that, the answer is always going to be Bodie McBoatface. It's going to be like whatever idiotic thing.
Like,
it's gonna be like Chainsaw Charlie, Evil
Knievel.
Yeah, right. No, and
it's gonna be freaking Ken Bone.
Yeah, right. That guy has
where the fuck has Ken Bone been, by the way?
He voted early for like a third party, I believe.
He was a Jorgensen. That's right. He voted for Jorgensen at the end of all. After being America's thoughtful, moderate voter, he ended up voting for Clown Shoes Magoo over there.
I
God
love
bless Joe Jorgensen. Okay,
she won that election for Joe Biden. She's my second favorite Joe.
My favorite thing about Ken Bone is that people dug into like his Reddit account, and he's just like so horny for pregnant women.
He got canceled for being too horny for pregnant women.
And then he tried to make a show called The Bone Zone. That was like his little he tried to own the Bone Zone, and
you have to try. You got to try.
He had to try. It just turns out that he actually didn't have any meaningful opinions. What everyone remembered about him was a sweater, and you can't podcast your sweater.
I mix him up sometimes with there's some like video of, I think it's at like BlizzCon, where some guy in a sweater gets up there and is like, can you explain to me why this character still exists in this expansion when he actually died off? Whatever.
The guy who complains about canon, and
the guy's up there and he's like, I make $4 million a year. I don't care.
Well, yeah, the idea that anybody that works at Blizzard cares about the lore.
Yeah.
Well,
am I right?
They
guys?
call that kid. I want to say they got that kid back like the next year because it was such a huge thing that BlizzCon intentionally calling him again the next year. I think.
Oh, really? I think he also got canceled for liking pregnant. He liked the pregnant trolls. He liked the trolls that had little pregnant bellies.
So, guys, to try to get this thing back onto the rails somewhat. I'm going to try. I don't care.
No, we should,
Donald Trump, I think that there is a fantasy among many in the Democratic Party establishment that the Republicans were going to come to their senses after this election and that Donald Trump is going to go away. Nick, Dean, do y'all think that Donald Trump is going away, or do you think he is running again in 2024?
I think he's running again.
You think so?
I don't know. I think that he's going to, in the meantime, I don't know. Because I thought that, I thought originally that like he didn't really want to win in 2016. Like on some level, at least.
I agree.
And the plan was to kind of like maybe like create this media thing with Bannon or whatever. I don't know.
I agree. I've done a number of episodes on that very subject. So no, like I think it's a founded belief that you have.
I think the problem though, and I think I agree kind of that. I mean, it's hard to know for sure, but I think it's not crazy to think that he didn't want to win. The problem is, more than not wanting to win, he doesn't want to be a loser. And so now he's just a loser. And so like the only way is to fucking get the belt back, baby. Like, do a fucking people's elbow off the cage and win it again in 2024.
But he's not a loser right now because he's come up with all these conspiracy theories to explain that he's actually secretly the winner. So, I mean, he doesn't have to prove it. He's already proved it in his own mind, so he doesn't have to technically run.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what the inner workings of his mind. I would love to.
He's a pathological narcissist.
But what I wanted. I lost my train of thought. Just like trying to. No. I was just picturing the world through Trump's eyes, and it was beautiful.
It was the best thing you'd ever seen. It was tremendous. It was fantastic.
I mean,
I've seen other worlds, but I've never seen a world as this world.
I mean, just the picture of him in front of all that McDonald's is better than the Last Supper. I mean, it's better than the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. It's the greatest piece of art that I think. I mean, it's basically.
It sums up his presidency perfectly, right?
It's camp. You know, that he has that camp appeal, you know?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
he really
incredible.
is. He does have at times a sort of like theater kid energy that you wouldn't expect from Trump. But
he's I mean, what I will say is I'm going to miss him in the fact that, like, it was never boring.
No, he's nakedly honest in a way that is sometimes really enjoyable.
It's that he's shameless. He's unabashedly shameless. That's the thing. And
No,
then
Joe, like, I'll give you an example. A thing I am enjoying is every day, nearly now, Trump comes out and he's again like, they're stealing the election from me. They're screwing me over. I have all this evidence, Dominion this, Sidney Powell that. Like, we're going to win at the Electoral College. And he is shattering this kayfabe that the Democrats so desperately want to sell, that we're going to return to normalcy, that Joe Biden's going to be this soothing balm that is going to, because it infantilizes the Republican pathology, which is sort of like kind of what I was talking about earlier too. Like, dude, they really believe this shit. They're not like a Joe Biden away from seeing things clearly. Like, and there's been this myth in a lot of people's heads that, like, and the media definitely plays into this, that Joe Biden's such a serious and respected across the land individual that when he arrives in office, people are gonna like go, well, that's a fucking president. Oh, now I see the error of my ways. And if anything, you look at that popular vote total and you see very clearly, culturally speaking, there are 74 million people who are not about to, quote unquote, see the error of their ways come January 20th.
You know, and I just love the strategy too. You know, Joe Biden and you know, picking Kamala and stacking his cabinet with the you know, everyone who's girl bossed their way up the ladder. And I just love that Trump can just say, like, Hunter Biden fucked his dead brother's ex, you know, widow, and she's a dog, and I wouldn't fuck her. And it's accepted now. Like,
wait, what's an ex-widow? You can't be an ex-widow.
It's like the X-Men, but
yeah, you can. You're wrong. I'm just throw it out there.
Yeah.
Fact check.
Yeah,
I just checked it. Yeah.
Their superpowers are just having dead husbands.
Yeah, you know, it's okay to be ignorant sometimes, Joey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think Republicans have made a huge. Well, it's weird. I want to say they've made a huge miscalculation with Trump recently. That their only chance to sort of cut him sort of loose was to not humor these crazy conspiracies. Because the thing is,
maybe.
Well, no, you know, someone I follow on Twitter, Kilgore Trout, as they go by, they had this interesting thread about this, but it boils down to, you know, you can't like start a wildfire and then hope it only burns Democrats, you know, and what we're seeing in Georgia is sort of happening. It's like you can't tell everyone, oh, there's massive widespread voter fraud, and then assume that that your base is gonna just accept like these crazies. They're gonna run in primaries against the establishment in like 2 years, and then there's gonna be at least one who loses and just gonna say, nope, I was cheated. Then they might run third party, who knows. And we're seeing that in Georgia with Sidney Powell's accusations that like Collins was actually the secret winner, but Kemp screwed him over in favor of that Loeffler lady, you know. And now they're talking about, I think the Republicans are going to just come home because they always seem to fall in line. I think we're going to lose those Senate seats. But if we actually win it, the Democrats actually win it, I will be so freaking happy, and it will be so funny and so ironic that I will just die of joy probably. You know, I mean, the only way I could be happier, I guess, is if at the end of this, Trump just decides on Inauguration Day to take the coward's way out or something in the Oval Office.
No, I think on Inauguration Day, Trump is going to be counter-programming Joe Biden.
On Inauguration Day, Trump is going to announce his run for 2024.
Yeah, no, he is. He is. I mean, like, look, dude. I mean, you're laughing about that, but like, I've got
I think
Oswald
it's possible.
Yeah, Oswald Subasong reporting that I probably butchered that name, on November 28th. I've got that. I mean, you've got Republicans cheering on Trump here for 2024. Here's from Politico. If he were to run in 2024, I think that he'd be the nominee, and I'd support him.
Oh yeah.
He'd have a lot of
He-
support out in the country. That's from Josh Howley. I got one more quote here, Joey. Hold on. Rick Scott, it'd be great if he ran. He's done a good job. Like, I think there was maybe an opportunity to decouple from him the day after the election when it was
the 8th, yeah. The
yeah,
8th.
but once he dragged this out, and this is kind of I think maybe underappreciated, he sort of forced the Republicans' hand on this, where they have to go along with the Trumpy kayfabe. I guess getting back to Nick's point, the thing I'm going to miss about Trump is like he just shatters kayfabe all over the place, and like you can see how he whips the standard politicians, because they lack. They're ninnies. Trump's a forceful brat. He's not like some like real strong guy. He's a little petulant child. But he's going up against a bunch of nitties who don't know how to tell this brat no.
Well, a lot of them are scared of their own base, I think. But yeah, Trump
In both
pushes
parties.
and pushes until he hits steel, and it's like, I think the best time to uncouple it would have been like on the 8th or like, but then Trump had to go through with his legal challenges. And the early legal challenges, they were, semi-sane. These were like, oh, well, these votes here were business class mail, and the law requires you to postmark it, but business class doesn't have postmark. But they're quibbling over like 300 votes in a PA in that case. And so he quickly runs out of like sane legal strategies, which even though they were saying they weren't going to win it for him. So he had to start going to crazier and crazier stuff. And now we're at Powell saying like, maybe the CIA just raided, maybe we have a secret server in Germany that was just raided by the army, and maybe that was run by the CIA, or maybe we sent votes into Spain electronically. And these are two different conspiracy theories. I have no idea how the Spain stuff works. I'm like, I've studied.
Well, just get back to us on that. I want a full update on the Spain angle of the Dominion conspiracy the next time you're on here.
I think the Spain thing is like, I haven't looked at the Spain stuff.
I don't actually need that full breakdown right now.
Well, I think the thing is they hacked in and then took the votes to Spain and then changed them in Spain, but I have no idea why, if you hacked into computers, you'd have to like transfer the votes into Spain to be processed.
Do you remember the Owan brothers from 2016? Like,
Oh,
if you follow every election cycle, like all Republicans have is like some spooky ooky stuff with computers, like the Owan brothers, or this time the Dominion stuff, and or like extensions of like Benghazi style investigation, like what you're seeing right now with the investigation into the Russia investigation into the Russian investigation. It's just Benghazi stuff.
Well, the German server is almost exactly the same as that weird theory about how there's a secret Ukraine server, and that's where all the evidence of that's where the Hillary emails were supposedly kept, because the company hired by the DNC to check.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories. I want to move on from them though. And I want to finish on this, which is, any of y'all see Trump delivered what he dubbed, I'm not making this line up, he literally opens up the speech with this, the most important speech of his presidency today.
All I know is it was.
I know. I'm seeing Dean's eyes just like light up. Like, what?
That's amazing.
No, he literally describes this as the most important speech of his presidency. To put it into context here. And this speech is all about the voter fraud Trumpspiracy thing. And I'll say it like this. I don't obviously think like in an objective news sense, given the fact that we have a pandemic that is infected 13 million Americans and 200,000, I can rattle off all the numbers. Obviously, there are bigger fish to fry. However, in a weird way, I do think that this is an important speech for him, because he is clearly setting out the Trump version of events here. There was massive voter fraud. He was screwed over in this wild way, but for all the voter fraud, he definitely 100% won this election. He was teasing this earlier this week, that the election's only valid, and which is true in like the purest technocratic sense of the word, but it's only valid when the Electoral College votes to authorize it, which is to say it doesn't even matter what happened on a state level. Like, you have 50 state elections, which is how we divvy up and gerrymander out the popular vote. Screw that. That's old hat. They elect electors off of those 50 state votes. What those guys say go, that's the real democracy. He lays out all of this stuff over 47 minutes. Some of the Dominion stuff that Joey has gotten deep into. You can get the Trump version of events complete with charts. Like this
charts.
No, dude, this was an in-depth speech. And I wasn't going to originally watch this, but then we were going to tape today. I was like, oh, let's see what Trump said. And I had it on while I was getting ready for the show here, and like I couldn't stop listening to it, not because it was substantive in any way, but like, dude, he is all in on this Trumpspiracy thing. If you think this is going away, watch some of this speech. I've included some of the audio in the final mix down here of some of the highlights from that speech. Watch the whole thing for 46 minutes and ask yourself at the end of it, do you think he's going away?
I'll tell you what, I'd like to take some magic mushrooms and watch that whole speech.
Dude, there are so many better things in politics to take drugs to and what. Like, back when I was in college, I used to get high and watch the McLaughlin Group, and I discovered that on a certain combination of my computer, you can invert the color scheme on the video podcast. So I'd watch that whole thing with the inverted color scheme. So that twerp Rich Lowry from the National Review?
Ugh.
Him,
Very annoying guy.
Inverted color scheme, Joey. Looks like a demon. Looks like a devil.
That's awesome.
Rich
Monster.
Lowry is not a deep thinker. He's one of those conservatives that's like slightly more sane than the rest of them. So he gets all these sort of accolades, because he's not one of the crazy ones, but he's not a very deep thinker.
Yeah, the bar is pretty low there. But
oh
yeah.
I was gonna say, I think I think that Trump is like definitely not going to be going away in any substantive way, but I do think that his support from the GOP is really only like they're not going to throw any weight behind him contesting the election, right? Like
no.
They're not going to stop him because they don't think they can, and it's like from their perspective, it kind of makes a little sense because he did get a lot of. He got amazing turnout this year, and they're scared because they think that he has to be on the ticket for the Trump magic to work because it didn't work in the midterm. So they're thinking, well, maybe he does need to be on the ticket.
You need the Trump blessing. I think they're right on that formulation. I think that look at. Polling's obviously kind of a nebulous science, especially post this election. But you can still like within 5 to 10%. Like the hairline stuff you can't use so much, but 60% of the country says this, 40% of the country says that. You can kind of use that shit. Inside of the Republican Party, well over half of their voters, the people who will be voting in the primaries, legitimately believe the Trumpspiracy version of events in this election. They believe that Donald Trump won this election, but for the fact that the Democrats were rigging it. Joe Biden, or what Trump brings up is the fact that Joe Biden was staying in the bunker. Now, all of us idiots, us rubes who are in on it, we all think it's because he didn't want to get coronavirus. But in the Trumpspiracy, the truth version of it, he was doing that because he knew that the Democrats had their nefarious conspiracy to rig the election so well in place that Joe Biden could just hide out in the bunker the entire election.
Yeah, but
that's part of that 46 minutes today.
He was also having
Biden
sex with Bo's ex-wife.
Yeah, absolutely. Hunter brings her over all the time. That's a little father-son action.
I gotta say, shame on Joe Biden for not hosting just one boat parade, to keep up the charade,
Well, I think it's ridiculous that Joe Biden canceled the event on Epstein Island.
Yeah.
Insane, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
COVID.
Yeah, sure. Fine.
I will want to touch on one thing about the conspiracy theories, though, about the Trump winning. I think one of the really important things to note is all these conspiracy theories. It's not like, it's not like a JFK conspiracy theory. Well, it is sort of. But it's not like a conspiracy theory that men never landed on the moon. It was faked in a bunker. It's not like that conspiracy. It's a conspiracy theory where all the conspiracy theories are true in that, it was mail-in vote fraud, but it was also people working in the actual counting centers and it was also Dominion who was changing the votes electronically.
Yeah, like QAnon style. It's like a yes and conspiracy. It's kind of
Well,
like
yeah,
improv,
yeah, they're
like
also
the
moving
improv rule. Yes, and oh,
Yes, and it's
yes, it was voter fraud, and also Hugo Chavez. Oh, yes, it was Hugo Chavez, but also a deep-seated anti-Semitic plot set up by the Marxists.
it
Yes,
was Iran.
but also Obama in Kenya.
Well,
It was
that's
the
a Big Ten
CIA.
approach.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you triangulate in the old Reagan style. You know, he had to bring together the three pillars of the Republican Party. They're going to do it with conspiracies next time around.
I mean, we're joking, but honestly, like,
No,
yeah,
I'm
that's
kinda
how.
serious. No,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I think that's like a big part of like why Trump has the support
winning
from
low
the
trust voters. Winning
Have
people who,
any of you guys, Nick, Dean, Joey, have y'all had anyone in your life go from being just like kind of a standard rank and file Republican voter to being a QAnoner?
No, I will say I kind of had the opposite. Sorry to butt in here. The opposite experience where I have members of my family that were like Trump people, and then they were like, "It's over. He lost. Give it up. Like it's done."
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's been my experience. It's been like Trump for purely
Because he's a Republican.
Republican and like income bracket reasons.
Exactly.
And then moved on from that being like, well, yeah, he sucks, but I don't want to pay more. That.
If you've got a lot of money in investments or whatever, like the capital gains stuff, like on a philosophical level, when I think about like politics and like abstract statecraft, capital gains is like kind of a small fish. I think about like, how do we get healthcare to people? How do we administer a pandemic? But for like a rank and file voter, especially a retiree, capital gains, how that affects your dividends, how that's going to affect that's for a lot of people as they're moving into that part of their life, it's much more of a driver of how they're going to vote at the ballot box. And I think a lot of us in our age cohort really give it credit.
I have to say, my mom, she thought Trump was done like months back, and she's not. She was never like a hardcore Republican, but she was sort of a soft Republican. I don't think she voted for Trump in 2016. She feels like she's been banded. As far as anyone going QAnon, I'm curious. I did have one aunt, and I haven't spoken to her about politics in years, so I don't know how she feels about it. But I'm pretty sure she'd be a hardcore Trumper now, because she once pulled me aside after she'd been drinking at a party like in 2010 or something, in a family get together.
Did she tell you about Dominion?
No, she was talking about how Obama was a Muslim who wasn't born in America.
Oh, well, I mean, she's right about that.
Well, and she was talking about how he's going to take all of our guns, and and I was like, well, why hasn't he passed any gun legislation? He's like, because he's smart about it. And then I tried to get away from her, and I kind of and I succeeded. So yay me. So I would guess she's probably a hardcore Trumper, but I don't know if she's into QAnon now. That QAnon stuff, it's like an ideological poison almost,
No, it's strong. And once you get sucked into it, I don't know what the off-ramp is from the QAnon.
Well, I mean,
like
the QAnon
once you start buying into it, it's really hard to go, oh, maybe there's nothing to this QAnon stuff. I mean, you would have thought it would have been up when Robert Mueller didn't deliver the sex cult ring with Donald Trump after working inside with him all throughout the Mueller probe.
Well,
but it's the same. It's the same logic as doomsday cults, where like it only makes it stronger whenever the prediction doesn't come true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People double down.
It's a political doomsday cult, though. It's weird. It's weird to have it be. I don't want to say organized, but yet it is organized. Like ritualized.
It has like influencers. It has like a set sort of ecosystem where you have your influencers, you have your prophets, you have your adjacent people who sort of leech off of the QAnon stuff. Yeah,
it's organized in the way that like a kaleidoscope is organized, because it's a lens to view things through, but it can be whatever. I mean, it's kind of the danger of buying into any ideology with any full effect, because it then becomes the way in which you process the world.
Yeah, and that's a conspiratorial.
Yeah. How does the world fit into this politics doctrine that I've adopted?
But I mean, we all do that. I mean, to some degree. I mean, consciously and subconsciously, we are all affected by things that are either inside our control or outside our control. But like, once you've bought in, either on purpose or inadvertently, you are now saddled with this lens you are now going to view the world through.
Yeah, once you have a worldview or a mindset, you almost subconsciously try to bend things to your existing new biases, you know?
Yeah. Well, you have to. I mean, it's like the nature of existing is we all have presuppositions that can't be, I mean, not to get again into like too like obnoxious philosophy bullshit, but like you have presuppositions that none of us can prove, but we all have to sit here and believe to continue on having this conversation. And so that can be extrapolated out to your political views or anything else. There's a lot of buy-in that happens at basically every level of existence, and politics is no different.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think that like we were kind of talking about it earlier. Like the reason why I think people buy into that is yeah, you were saying, Joey. I think that it's these like low trust voters. Is that what you
Yeah.
called them?
Low trust people who don't have much trust in society in a whole.
Or yeah, and in like the political establishment. I think that like at some point the reason why the QAnon stuff is so popular, or not even like the reason that it's popular, but I think the consequence of that is like whether you're on the left or you're center left or whatever, that there has to be some alternative like vision that you offer, or diagnosis of our like problems that takes into account that like, okay, like there is a deep state. It's not really what they say it is, but there are like these unelected like officials in government who kind of do like control like how like foreign policy works, and like the intelligence agencies.
Yeah, it's the bureaucratic blob. It's the people who've been working there for like 40 years it's like the people who've been working there for 30 years, they hire people like 10 years in that are ideological clones of them, and it just keeps perpetuating itself. And all these people, they go to the same conferences and everything, and it's like a blob, sort of. It becomes convention and wisdom.
It's an administrative state that's run amok, that kind of comes out of the progressive era under Wilson, and like kind of informed by Max Weber. But like really where you see it run amok is like J. Edgar Hoover. The second he gets into office, it takes over the FBI. Like, you want to talk about deep state culture. It's so much of like, you know, what writers like Glenn Greenwald and a lot of people that I was reading back in the aughts were talking about. Bradley Balco too. It's, you know, there's a lot of really good writing on the way our national security state has run so amok. And I would say a lot of it begins with J. Edgar Hoover becoming this super, super powerful unelected bureaucrat whose tenure outlasted FDR's tenure, which was a tenure that was so long that a lot of people felt like FDR had too much power and was a little bit of a king. J. Edgar Hoover was able to hide out in the FBI for like upwards of 40 years. And like that is a deep state culture that has been forming. But I don't think like the Democratic Party has really ever had a way of addressing that. I even think like a lot of like progressives and stuff, they speak to the problem. Absolutely. An actual plan of how we fix the deep state, I have never seen it.
I have a plan.
Do you, Joey? I'm all ears.
And the leftists will like this plan too, because it's the solution to all your problems.
Okay.
We're going to go to Comet Ping Pong. We're going to go to the basement with an AR-15.
Going to the basement.
Joe Biden rally on Epstein Island.
Well, no. Okay. You start off, you hook them when they're young. First thing you do is
Epstein.
Yeah,
Epstein.
Oh my God. I did not do that on purpose. I swear. I did not. I'm actually saying hook them when they're young. You start with trying to appeal to kids like between 13 and
Epstein
15.
Likes that.
Yeah. I know where you think this is going, but that's not where I'm going.
You're the one who keeps taking it there.
Yeah, look, it's just a massage. We get it, buddy.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's a nice island. Children deserve a day on the beach.
Okay, this is my plan. It's serious, though, okay?
Okay.
You start when they're young. You start advertising kids, try to get them to join, whatever party you want, Democrat, leftist, it doesn't matter. You just do simple messages.
Like cigarettes, just put them in the mouth.
Well, yes, exactly like cigarettes. You hook them when they're young, when they're too young to realize anything or know better. So you just run like ads saying like hope, honor, integrity, the DSA or Democratic Party, whatever. You associate these things, and some of them are eventually going to wise up. True, but the ones that aren't that curious, they're going to stick with it. Now that's phase one. Okay, phase two is you
crowdfund Rage Against the Machine.
Oh no. Phase two.
If they put out another album like Evil Empire, think about what that will do for leftist engagement, Joey.
I'm serious though. This is my real
Who
plan.
doesn't
I'm
like
very
Evil
proud
Empire?
of this plan.
No,
And
he's
just
right.
let me finish
He's
it
right.
because
I
it
know,
has the other phase. Please let me finish.
Okay.
So phase 2, and you can do this while you're doing phase 1. Phase 1 is just to get the
My God.
voters. You're getting them young so that they become voters for life. Phase 2 that you're doing simultaneously is you start doing what basically the Federal Society is doing. You're finding kids in college, like at elite institutions, Harvard, whatever, all the ones, and you're getting them hooked into your ideology. You have Young Democrat Society or whatever. You get those kids internships. You make them the experts. You make it so they get into the government and they end up sticking around for 40 years and they're your ideological allies. It doesn't matter what administration the administration is if they all have to rely on the same pool of experts that already believe what you believe. That's the way forward in my view. It's my plan. I'm very proud of it. I don't think it's very anyone's going to do it, but I'm telling you, that's the way forward.
No, I think you're right. All we have to do is replace the ruling class with a new one.
Yeah,
We're good to go.
you take them through the same institutions,
but I mean,
and once they go through them, they're younger.
You could barely win against the freaking Cheeto. I mean, like I also, I don't know how I feel about indoctrinating children into any sort of world.
I really bristle on that. I'm a big proponent of let kids be fucking kids, and let them enjoy shit like dinosaurs and cars and guitars and whatever. Yeah, cooking.
If these people are stupid enough that they're gonna let their entire voting history be defined by some little ads they see when they're 13 to 15 and never re-examine, well, that's on them.
They might be fucking human beings then. They might just be normal humans who are a byproduct of the things that they learned during development.
Yeah, once again, that's putting so much blame on the individual that I just fundamentally disagree about.
I think people are overthinking this. Like I said, these kids. Okay, maybe
I would
bad
argue
to
if anything,
advertise
you're
to children,
indoctrinating
whatever.
Children, you're doing underthinking. The goal is to get kids to underthink on the issue.
Yeah, exactly. That is a good goal. You just want the voters pulling that lever every year without even thinking about it. You want those people on your side. So that's why you go with the low info stuff when they're young, try to get them hooked young. I know this is coming off as very evil, and I am sort of doing that. What's that thing about the Irish?
You like to work this edgelord gimmick sometimes.
Well, yeah, I am being a bit edgy here when I'm saying hook them when they're young.
Yeah.
You think
that maybe this is just like a little on that?
I am playing that up, I admit, but I do think we do need youth outreach. You don't have to lie to them. Tell them the truth. I mean, I believe in the Democratic Party. I believe that there are good things about it. So why not try to tell as many people about that as possible? And I definitely think the way forward better would be getting young elites on your side than just hoping that for a working class uprising. I mean, that's just me.
I don't. For your plan to work, you're talking about a time frame that is not helpful. I mean, we don't have the time for that. I mean, even if I agreed with your plan that the time doesn't make sense, we can't even give people relief from a pandemic that most countries have dealt with very easily. I mean, like
time. It takes maybe 10, 15 years for someone to go from internship to working in the halls of power. Here's a good first step.
It's probably closer to like 20 to 25 years for an actual systemic generational change. Like I'm sympathetic to this argument on some level, Joey. Like this is like the core argument of Joseph Schumpeter's writing. And he's probably right that the general engine for societal change, especially inside of like a representative democracy like we have, is something like the children of the ruling class and like the upper middle class. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, but you get that like Nick's right that like all of the problems that we are confronted with as a society simply do not have a 20 to 25 year window. Like we're now waiting around to take back. Hold on, buddy. We're waiting to take back the Supreme Court. For
Yeah.
what, 25, 30 years? How long will that go on, right?
I don't
We're
know. It
talking about
depends on if
climate
Alito gets
hold
sick
on,
or
hold on.
something.
We're talking about climate change. We don't have 25, 30 years to continue moving on the arc that we are moving as we are approaching 10 billion people. We keep adding a billion people onto the planet every 7 to 10 years. That is not a sustainable arc.
It
So
is
I
easy to
think
give
Nick,
reasons why not, but I'm giving you a reason
Joey,
way
it is
forward
easy
and a
to
path
let me
forward.
finish my point. It is
Go ahead.
hard sometimes to let me finish my point.
Yeah.
The temptation is there. I get it. But I think Nick is correct when he says that there is a fierce urgency to a number of these problems, up to and including the coronavirus, that when you say just sit back and wait for a couple of decades, you don't actually address those problems. And by the time you might somehow arrive at the levers of power, in the stations of power, the problems have already run amok, such that like you can't even address them, even if you had the best, most well-trained, most informed, and with the best record collection group of elite children taking over society.
And I also feel like the idea of like, oh, we just need to wait for a bunch of old guys to die off so the woke Zoomers can get in there and fix things. I think is just a fundamentally flawed understanding of the way that. Well, no, I'm not saying that's what you're thinking, but I'm just like the idea of hoping that the next generation, even for, I mean, like leftists do that too. Leftists see a bunch of fucking Zoomers on TikTok dancing with like paragraphs about, the hammer and sickle iconography and everything, when it's just, it's purely aesthetic at that point, right?
Yeah. I don't know what to do about the medium term or the short term. All I have is this plan. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you guys about the short term. I think we're screwed in the short term and the medium term, probably in the long term too. But yeah,
And so I think that's the crux of the critique here, man. If you don't actually have a plan for a short and the medium term, the abstract hope for what the long term is going to be, you're hoping for an America in 25 years that we might not be able to see.
Well, at least I'm hoping for something. I mean, you don't have
I'm
hope, then what do
hoping
you
for
have?
a
You
lot
burn
of
out.
things, Joey. I'm hoping for money. I'm hoping for free guitars. I am hoping for a blue dragon to appear in the background. What is this getting me?
Why a blue dragon?
Why not? Why you look at the dragon and you say it's blue? Why? I look at the blue dragon and I say why not?
I
Wait,
say
is the
blue eyes,
blue
white
dragon there?
dragon. You say
You're
white
looking
dragon,
at the
blue
blue
eyes.
dragon now?
White dragon, blue
You
eyes.
visualized and
Honestly,
it came to be.
I want the dragon to be whatever color it wants to be. I want it to explore the space, the spectrum of color.
We're talking about those weird dildos, right?
Yeah, fuck it,
Dragon.
why not?
Bad
Why not?
dragon.
I'm hoping for one of those too.
What? Okay, here's what if Trump transitions in the 4 years? He starts running as the first woman president, and his whole thing is he's gonna go up there with a big bad dragon blue dildo and just put it right on the podium and say, I'm gonna be the first woman president. What are you gonna do?
I don't want to even imagine that scenario.
I got no
in my
choice
head,
but
and
to
I'm angry
embrace
at you
it.
for bringing that scenario up.
Yeah.
I would say I would vote for him.
Yeah.
Her.
Absolutely.
Her,
Yeah,
her.
Excuse,
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Dean.
What would
Yeah.
Trump's new name be? We don't want a dead name Trump. Does Trump just become
Donalda.
Or
Donalda?
just Trump.
Donalda.
Or maybe just Yu-Gi-Oh. What if he's like, I'm Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm Beyblade.
Would Donald
No, yeah,
Trump?
just stick with Trump. I think.
Yeah.
You think? What if Trump just becomes like a singular word entity, like Trump,
Yeah.
just one word?
But I know
I
know
think
that was like a joke, but I do think that is like one potential way that things could go, is that I don't know, as I guess like identity continues to be used as kind of like a bulwark against criticisms of policy and positions that
Well,
like
it always has been. I mean,
Sure.
you can't criticize him because he's the Pope, or can't criticize her because she's the Queen, or him because he's a very rich scion, like the Silver family magnate. I don't know. You know, I mean, people have
Sure.
always been protected.
Yeah, but
from
it's a
based on
class
certain
thing.
identities.
And I think what Dean's getting at is that there is now a weird component where like you can't criticize someone like a Neera Tanden if you are not a woman or a person of color, because a
No.
thing that will get brought up is that this is coming from someone who is a white male, for
No,
example.
you can criticize anyone for anything. Just don't be a huge dick about
No,
it. You can't
I get that.
But
I
I
get
agree
that.
with
What I'm
you. I
saying
agree
is
with you
that
with
like
your
there
point,
is
yeah.
there is definitely a growing trend, and you see this on Twitter, which is both not and real
yeah.
life. That when people inside of the Democratic Party establishment are challenged, like Jamie Harrison be a fine example. Jamie Harrison is a dramatic underperformer a la Sarah Gideon or Amy McGrath. However, if you attack Jamie Harrison or bring up Jamie Harrison with any degree of like intensity, and you are not a person of color, certain people within the Democratic Party establishment would be very quick to bring up the fact that, oh, this is coming from a white man. Typical critique coming from a white man. This is kind of what the crux of the Bernie Bros hollow criticism of Bernie supporters back in 2016 was centered around. The idea that they're male and they're white.
I saw some of this criticism just recently when Brianna Joy Gray, she criticized Nira, and then someone else online stuck up for her, and then people started saying, no, you can't be attacking a woman of color like that. And I got the sense they were
in reference to Joy Gray or in reference to Tandon.
In reference to Joy Gray for criticizing. I think it was a Bernie bro overdosed on irony poisoning.
But that's just the thing about it, is that you can wield it for whatever purpose, right? If you choose to do so. And so that's what I was trying to get at, is that I think it's only a matter of time. Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before Republicans start doing something similar. Like I think it's possible.
Oh no, well, they did it with ACB with Comey Barrett. They basically said you can't attack her because she's a woman. Exactly. But then they start saying you can't mention her faith because of caste. And then they pivoted to attacking a warlock for his religion because he's a black. His
name's Warnock, not Warlock.
Not Warlock.
They attacked the warlock over
for whatever
reason.
But
that is a cooler name.
They often attack warlocks over their religion. I think it's deeply unfair. No, I think to your point, Dean, you were seeing this. There was a lot of hope that Nikki Haley and or Bobby Jindal in the last decade might be able to. I know Joey's laughing, but dude, bro, you were 2012. They were building up Bobby J. They wanted Bobby J to run in 2012.
Bobby Jindal ran his state into the ground trying to get these balanced budgets. You know, it didn't even help.
I'm aware. He tried, though. And the Republicans put a lot of effort into getting Bobby J into a relevant conversation on a national level. Same thing with Nikki Haley. The party doesn't necessarily want to go there. I think, to your point, Dean, there is the more reputable, frankly, the more tolerable portion of the party, the DC Beltway types who like Reddit columnists and stuff, who are just like, frankly, like less racist. I think they would like to see a Republican Party that has a place, if not at the top of the ladder, for people of color. They want the Tim Scotts, they want the Nikki Haleys. When they write their little thinky pieces for their columns online, they're always bringing up, hey, we've got Nikki Haley and we've got Tim Scott, and there's a bunch of non-white Republicans that we ought to be building up more. I think that there is a subsection of the party that's like that. And then they're the minority, and we've discovered that like mostly they want people like Trump. They want kind of that Trumpy energy and that Trumpy flavor. And there's just simply not enough of these decency Republicans to really transition into the identity thing yet. However, what I worry about, Dean, is that perhaps at some point there will be a person of color who figures out how to tap into the Trumpy energy.
That's what I was getting at.
I know. I sometimes
Owens.
I take a long way around sometimes, but I'm with you, dude. I'm with you.
There was that they just won. Like a lot of the seats they won were with women or with people of color. A lot of these swing state pickups they did, you know.
White men were off the hook.
Yeah,
we voted for Trump less. So
yeah, that's it.
Since we're bringing up 2024, I will say I think the woman right now who's the best chance of winning isn't Nikki Haley. It's probably Kristi Noem. Just on the just based off of how many people she's killed in her state from COVID. You know, I think the people who are like her and DeSantis are both killing a lot of people, and I think that's going to really help.
You need to stop using killing. You need hey, hold on. They're creating freedom. They're generating freedom. These guys are liberators.
Yeah, the
I mean,
freedom to die, I guess.
I
But
mean,
you-
the to live is to be shackled and to be imprisoned. So I mean, in a way.
Yeah,
No,
patriotic choking
It's
noises.
live free or die.
Mm,
Yeah, you're not when you're living, you're not in shackles.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, no, I know what Rousseau said, but I'm like, man is born free, and yet everywhere he's in change. But notice Rousseau said, man is born free.
Mm,
The system
Yeah.
is what's putting you in the
Interesting.
chains. I know.
Interesting.
I know. So that's a way homer. That's something for everyone to think about on the road here for the rest of your day. This is a good place to end this show here. That's gonna do it for episode 492 of Don't Worry
Oh,
About the Government. What,
there was
Joey?
one last thing I need to say, though.
Is there?
You know, we were talking about those evil podcasters who have like the deep, dark money, but you don't have that, do you? So maybe
No.
people should, pay you some sort of, how would they pay you to fight off these horrible,
all right.
horrible?
Normally, I don't like my off ramp getting interrupted, but I will always allow the off ramp to get interrupted for a plug of patreon.com/DWATG, your one stop shop for all of your Don't Worry About the Government needs. If you want the video version of this show, for $1 a show, supporting the show, because we are not funded by dark money groups like the Prager University, go to patreon.com/DWATG, sub up for $1 a show. Get the video version of the show. I'm gonna try to keep cranking out more content. I'm working the full-time job, and I'm doing this. And I'm also like doing a lot of stuff for my cover band right now. Things are very busy. So there will be more content. I just need to get things stabilized. So sub up patreon.com/DWATG. In the interim, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Novembrino and the show at DWATG, and we're on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Dean, plugs. Do you want to plug anything? You can plug your own stuff. You can plug someone else's stuff.
I'll leave the official plug to Nick, but yeah, I just want to say thanks for having us on. It was a lot of fun.
No, this was a hoot. Nick, official plug's been left to you. What are you going to do with this baton?
Well, we can't plug anything super associated with our presence
Endeavors
here. I guess I could plug an alternate show.
Do the new one.
Wallkill Mystic Family Farms.
What is Wallkill Mystic Family Farms?
You might have to listen to find out, but if you have any interest in
it's like nothing.com back in the day.
Yeah. If you it's about being raised in a cult, I'll say that.
Okay, interesting.
So that's Wallkill Mystic Farms?
Wallkill Mystic Family Farms. Wallkill, as in the city in New York.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Word? Or is that all one word, or is it multiple words?
Multiple words.
And that's on Spotify.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
And it's on Apple Podcasts.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm asking.
It can be, Dean, do whatever you want. It can be whatever you want.
Hey, one day it'll be everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shit. Joey, what do you want to use your plug section for?
Well, first of all, my Twitter account, JO, then underscore clever, then underscore KE. That's a clever inside joke. So follow me on Twitter. And I gotta give a shout out to George Soros, because, the election was looking pretty bleak for a little while, but you came through in a clinch, so thank you, Mr. Soros, if you're listening.
He is. He's definitely where I'm getting all the money for this show. You could see it, the lap of luxury in my barren small shoebox of a bedroom. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Don't Worry About the Government. My name is Chris Novembrino. I've been joined today by Dean, Nick, and Joey Insider for our anonymous panel. Hope you all enjoyed it. Until the next one, bye-bye.
Thanks.
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 Thanks.